6 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Michelle is excused, and Jeff Roberts will be about 5-10 minutes late. First up on the agenda, I'm actually going to reverse it a little bit. We're going to do the October 14th meeting minutes, and the first one is the packet.
I'll make a motion to accept the October 14th, 2025 public meeting minutes.
Okay.
Motion and second. Any changes?
Line 37 would be 2627 proposed operating budget.
All right, with that added, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And next up on the October 21st.
Make a motion to accept the October 21st, 2025 public meeting minutes.
Real quick, I just want to point out on line 91, that paragraph about contracted services. Steve explained that it's mainly for mowing and weed whacking at Belmont Elementary School, Canterbury Elementary School. I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody, that we're only using contracted services for those two purposes at those two schools.
Did you say 70?
91.
91. So, Sean, what is
I'm just proposing after weed whacking
Yeah.
for BBS and CBS.
Okay.
Any other edits? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And next meeting is next Tuesday at Belmont Elementary School. We have an opportunity for public communication and correspondence. Anything from the public?
Good afternoon, Mr. Superintendent, school board again. My name is Andrew Torsen. It's Torrressen. So okay, that's it. Again, I'll just be brief as possible. I promise it's not as long as last time. Just to preface what I'm going to say, it's going to start off with post last school board meeting. A little recap of what went down, just to remind everybody. Post last school board meeting, and then the outcomes since. So again, I would like to update the school board on my family's issues since the last school board meeting. As a reminder of our conflict, we were told by the special education team that parents are prohibited from being in the classroom due to laws protecting the privacy of other students. We requested the official document of this law be provided, and were told by Special Education Coordinator Don Gagnon that they had submitted our inquiry to a legal team first on Wednesday, September 24th, which she could not provide the name of. My wife and I waited for a response, and upon asking for an update on Wednesday, October 8th, Don Gagnon stated the legal team came back and confirmed parents are not allowed in the classrooms. Again, my wife requested the official document of the law, and Don did not respond to my wife's email. At which time we reached out to Mr. Hill with that response, and then came to the school board to request Mr. Superintendent to become involved in order to assist us with this issue. At the time of the last school board meeting, when I presented my public comment, we were under the impression by Don Gagnon that our inquiry was being researched by a legal team twice. After the school board meeting, the superintendent put us in touch with the Director of Student Services, Tanya Mitchell-Berry, to help resolve this issue. Tanya informed us that she was in fact the first person to reach out to the attorney, which was only until the day after the last school board meeting. Up until this point, though we were being told a legal team was contacted and that they had responded saying no parents allowed in the classrooms, the reality was that no legal team was ever contacted until Ms. Taniel stepped in the day after the last school board meeting. She was never told we wanted to be present for visits. She did not give any guidance to the team other than to say that my wife was allowed to be present for my son's initial evaluation. This revealed another lie by Don Gagnon. Since then, as stated, Taniel expedited our request to the school attorney the day after the last school board meeting and took our request seriously, even sacrificing her own personal time and speaking with us after hours so both my wife and I could be on the call, which I really appreciated from her. We were later informed by Taniel that the attorney concluded no rights of other children are being violated by a parent being in the classroom, and that my wife and/or I can in fact be present for our son's appointments with certain conditions, such as fingerprinting and checking in, which has been completed since by my wife and myself. This is a wonderful finding for the school and the community, as it reveals that all parents have access to the children in the classroom and can observe their child. We expect the school to update and educate all staff members completely on this matter and the law, as there were many failings and misinformation given to my wife and that were unnecessary. This matter was handled poorly, very poorly, until Taniel stepped in, and we were very surprised to hear from her that the request the request we had waited for over a month was never even submitted. Yet we were told there were concluded findings of this legal team, which actually goes against the law. This revealed that Don Gagnon had lied to us multiple times, implied to us as parents that she would do or say anything to keep a parent from being present in the classroom, and concerns us to why she would be so secretive and discourage our presence. If this was simply a matter of misinformation of the law by Don Gagnon, she would have never stated there was a legal finding, when she never sent anything to a legal team, nor did she inform Taniel of our full request. This, along with their other administrative failings, was a massive professional mistake, and one that I believe calls for a penalization, especially as a staff member for over 20 years. I believe she should be removed from this position as special education coordinator. Lying to the public on legal matters is a serious offense. Before I get into the positive outcomes, as my wife and I have not received an apology from Don Gagnon, Mr. Superintendent, would you now be willing to just 30 seconds or a minute publicly apologize on her behalf?
As I mentioned to you, Andrew, I apologize for our staff.
Yes, sir.
That's my responsibility to do so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, moving forward, we are glad that our son will receive the services he deserves and needs with us present, thanks to the help of you, Mr. Superintendent, and Taniel Mitchell-Berry. I truly believe that if I did not speak my voice during the last school board meeting, we would not be where we are today. And if we didn't push for proof of these laws, our son would have been wrongly denied services, and us as parents unlawfully denied observation. Something we've said all along, and one of the reasons why we need to be present at his visits is that we are his voice. And this experience just shows the importance of a parent advocating for what is right for the child. Mr. Superintendent and Taniel have been a breath of fresh air and very transparent, and we are truly looking forward to rebuilding the broken relationship as our child now has the opportunity to grow using the resources our town offers. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your follow-through to ensure a resolution. Thank you, Ms. Taniel, for your professionalism, your time, your genuine care, and dedication to finding and revealing the truth of the law and making things right. Thank you to the attorney, Allison Minatelli, for your work in providing the answers we have requested since the beginning. And Mr. Superintendent and the school board, thank you for your time again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, anything else for public communication? All right, next up we have the student club presentation.
Good evening.
For those of you that don't know me, I am Mrs. Briggs, a grade teacher here at Canterbury Elementary School. And I have some children that would like to tell you a little bit about an event that we just held. And this is Miss Tilton, the fourth grade teacher here at Canterbury, joining us too. All yours.
Hello, we would like to introduce ourselves. Hi, my name is Gabe and I'm in 8th grade. Hi, my name is Hannah and I'm in 4th grade. Hi, my name is Peter and I'm in 4th grade. Hi, my name is Madeline and I'm in 3rd grade. Hello, my name is Kenzie and I'm in 3rd grade. Good evening. We are 3rd and 4th graders from CES and we're excited to tell you about our harvest supper. Last week we hosted this event, a tradition that brings our school community together every fall. In our classrooms, we help prepare 3 delicious soups: butternut squash, cabbage, and shaker sweet potato corn chowder. Each soup included some ingredients that we planted and harvested from our school garden, like zucchini and cabbage. Other vegetables were generously donated by our teachers, Miss Grace and Miss Tilton. In our class, we added a creative touch by making our pottery wheels. We shaped, fired, and glazed each one ourselves, making every bowl unique and special. Our project was inspired by the Empty Bowls program, a way for communities to come together to help fight hunger. The idea is simple: make and share handmade bowls, bring the mail to, and ready to make before meal. Every bowl we offered was a reminder of the many empty bowls still waiting to be filled. During the event, we invited guests to make a donation to support the New Hampshire Food Bank in Manchester. Thanks to the generosity of our community, we collected $402 to help families in need. The Harvest Supper was a great way for us to learn in many different areas. We got to garden, cook, and eat all working together. It also helped us feel thankful for our school and our community. Thank you. We also have the recipes for you if you would like a copy to take home. The shaker sweet potato corn chowder was a huge hit, so we will definitely have to plant more potatoes for next year in our school garden. Any questions?
I would love a copy of your recipe.
When you get the recipe.
Can you go pass up the rest?
Which was your favorite album?
Thank you.
We can share if you only have one more. Do you have another recipe? Okay. Oh, gotta have cabbage too. Which was your favorite? Good choice. Alrighty. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. What was your favorite soup? That was the good thing. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have with the Canterbury and Belmont town officials. We've got You want to come to the table?
You're down here making soup.
Should have plenty of chairs.
We're just commiserating because we've got to go to a planning board meeting after this. And I'd rather stay and get more recipes.
I was, thank you.
All right, so thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the evening. Especially if you have another meeting after this. I guess we try to do this at least once a year, to try to get an opportunity
It's appreciated.
to talk about what's going on in the schools, what's going on in the towns. We have representatives from Canterbury and Belmont, which is great. So I don't know if we have any questions for the school district first. I guess I'll start by saying we are just, I'd say, early in our budgeting process, and we've just got the budget information a few weeks ago. But it ends much quicker than we always anticipate. So we're definitely moving along pretty rapidly. We have more discussions tonight as well. So I think the operating budget, that we probably don't know right off the top of our head. The proposed operational budget is up 6.08%. The fall budget for operational is up 6.5%. So the proposed is currently less than what the fall budget is. We definitely have some big ticket items like health insurance that's really hitting us. Almost $1 million increase just in health insurance. So we're going to talk some more tonight. We have six advisory budget committee members that have been very helpful. They've asked questions and given feedback as well. So it's been a good collaborative process so far.
Do you have anything you're interested in knowing from us directly?
Everything.
Yeah.
Start the top. Let's start going.
Yeah.
I fear if we just started going, you just might be late for your meeting. So is there anything in particular that you?
Is there anything in particular that you've noticed in the budget that's an increase that surprised you?
Other than
health insurance.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure the health insurance.
Everything high in
is
comparison to that.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention, especially, I think you're still perhaps considering some upgrades here that would involve three-phase power.
Yes.
It looks like we will, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, it looks like we will not be proceeding with three-phase to the transfer station. So if that helps in your decision.
So it doesn't help in our decision.
I know.
It does help when we share the cost.
Yeah.
The elementary school,
Yeah.
and then you're on your own the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I think, just for clarification on that, three-phase power comes right to the center here.
Yeah.
And I know that one of the presentations that you got, it sounded like they were gonna try and get it all the way from like New Road or something like that.
Yeah, that was the information we were given. So
Yeah.
this place, if you get it, was like a mile from the woods.
Yeah, I heard about that, I'm like, no.
I appreciate Ken giving me the contact at Unitil. I was in touch with them, and you know, it's right here at pole 73, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's 5 sections to run into pole 6 right out front.
Yeah.
They gave us an estimated cost, they quoted around $52,000 to run it there. That doesn't include running the power from the pole into the building. We're still waiting on that.
Is that, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Is that something that you're still considering then, even at that cost? Or is it-
Yeah.
And that's to run the pumps and the air circulation, right?
Yeah, we need the 3-phase in order to upgrade the HVAC systems here, particularly our rooftop units and so forth.
Looking at the town expenses for 26, we're looking at purchasing some things through the cap reserve fund, so there won't be any tax impact. But the things we are looking at for potential tax impact are waste oil heater for the highway department at $20,000. Let's see, the town voted to buy a new fire engine 3 years ago. We ordered it, it's finally gonna come in May. So we made a down payment of $390,000 on it. We're bonding $490 to pay for it. So the first year, we'll be bonding it for 10 years, and so we'll be paying $50,000 a year on that, approximately. We are looking at a new cruiser next year for $67,000. There's a final payment on an existing bond, which is the only one we have outstanding, $52,000. And we're looking at our regular payments to the cap reserve accounts for various items around $143,000. So no huge, big ticket items in 26. Some capital expenses. The only thing that is, one thing that is really kind of, we're not sure of is the transfer station. We contracted with an engineering firm to look at our transfer station. They developed a report. We're meeting with our budget committee next week to go over the report to determine what steps to take.
In regards to what, the transfer station?
The transfer station to see what are we going to do. The transfer station was built partially on an old landfill, so we're restricted on what we can do for construction up there. However, there is land that isn't on top of the landfill, so DES had said, as long as you don't disturb the landfill, and it's an uncapped landfill, so that's still kind of hanging out there. And the state has a fund for capping landfills, but they haven't funded it for 10 years. So we don't know that that's ever gonna happen. But we have a Packer truck that we use right now that's 26 years old and on its last leg. The engineering company came up with 6 different proposals, from roadside collection to continuing what we're doing and sliding the Packer truck. So we're going to meet with the budget committee next week and look at the proposals, and we'll see what they recommend. So that is kind of really the only big question mark that we have.
That's the other than health insurance, right?
That and the health insurance
and
that
the
you guys
transfer
know.
station.
We were with New Hampshire Local Trust last year, and they went out of business in June, so we had to switch over to school care. And I know that this year, school care with their current customers had a special assessment because they were short of funds. So we're looking at, we're shopping right now for healthcare. So we'll see. But whatever it is, it's going to be a fairly significant increase.
One question I had was, if you could talk a little bit about, like, I heard something about additional residential units off the highway. Is that, I know
That's the planning board meeting we're going through.
Come on down.
Yeah, Scott, you wanna? Sure. So, that has been 2 years so far that we've been discussing with Meridian Development, which is the development company. They submitted a new set of plans today. I haven't even had a chance to look at them, so I don't know what changed. But the proposal, and we're not settled on the number of houses yet, but it's somewhere in the 25 to 28 house range, I would say.
Down from like 33.
Right.
Yeah.
With some also potential for commercial development. There's 2, or I heard possibly 3 now, parcels that will be commercially developed as well. But if you're all familiar with that, it's literally right off of exit 18, a couple of 100 yards from the exit. So.
And are the sizes of those houses still the same, the 2 to 3 bedroom?
I don't know that I can answer that right now because I haven't seen the revisions, but they were condominium units, a mix of duplex and single family, 2 to 3 bedrooms, and I believe the term they used was market rate housing. So.
With multiple bedrooms and more children, so.
Yep. And that is a concern of ours and certainly yours as well. We're probably fairly close to capacity here at CES, right?
We have room.
Ah, but how much room?
Yeah, that's,
Well, that's the tough part. I believe there's a gentleman that was doing some research on the impact study that's been in touch with me multiple times of providing the planning board specifically.
Yep. We've seen
all
that.
that information,
Yeah.
so you know what our capacity's at.
yeah.
It's hard to determine what the impact would be across the district because you could have a spread of elementary students as well as middle and high school students. So
Yep.
it's tough to determine.
Yeah.
We are not at capacity here at CES. We have to have several families within several children.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty at CES is just, for the most part, on average, you have one classroom per grade. But I think what the difficulty is, what is that magic number as to, that's a lot of kids in one class, and then, me personally, I try to compare it with Belmont as well to make sure that we're all on an even playing field. And I think it's difficult sometimes, you have 3 kids added to maybe a big class, forget what our biggest class is, it's over 20. It's like we're gonna have more students in that class. Potentially can happen.
Well, here's a question for you. This has come up from a lot of parents that have actually reached out to me with concerns regarding development in CES, the lack of fifth graders here. If we do see an influx in smaller, younger children, grade school kids, would we potentially lose fifth grade in our school? Have you guys discussed that yet?
We haven't discussed that at all. I mean, it's in the budget.
I'm just saying, reintroduction of fifth grade to Canterbury versus trying to send every kid to Belmont and make room here for younger classrooms. We've had 3 boomer years of kids Canterbury for third grade, in really big classes. With another class that size, parents are concerned we'll have to send the kids out of town earlier. Is that something you guys would consider talking about?
No. I mean, it's in the budget, I assume that the 4th grade kids here are gonna move to 5th grade next year.
I believe our fourth grade is 21 or 22 kids, and I don't know.
But we left a position available in Canterbury for 5th grade just in case, correct?
Yes.
And what triggers having that actually happen, that we have a 5th grade yet?
The number of families that decide to remain at Canterbury Elementary School for 5th grade. So we already polled our 4th grade families, and we have enough families to express interest to have a 5th grade class next year.
Oh, okay, good. That's good to
I
know.
think to your question, Calvin, specifically about space, we'd end up having to move around some of our specialties like art and music and so forth and open up those spaces, turn them into a general classroom space.
Yeah, because parents always get concerned, they see the bubble coming and then they go, oh my goodness, we've got, 2 kindergartens, 2 first grade, where are we gonna have portables, we're gonna have everyone thinks money at the end of the day, so.
We do have some bigger classes in those third, fourth grade. Well,
Well, we'll have a 5th grade game. Glad we left it in the budget last year.
Do you guys have any big expenditures like on the horizon you see coming in 2 to 3 years? Anything, I think the CBA is coming up, right, in a year?
Yeah, I would say, my first thought when you said that was the HVAC project.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, did you guys apply for grants, did a portion of that?
Yeah, continue to apply for it.
It's still 11 million. Yeah.
And that's the district-wide, not just Canterbury?
Correct.
In Canterbury, it's what, 3? Well, it's probably less than that now because 3 phases right there.
Yeah, $1,000 difference on that.
It takes out like $250,000, $750,000 out of the.
And what would the timeframe on that project be? As soon as it's funded, or would it be incrementally?
The goal is to run that 3-phase this year. However, the full HVAC project, we're currently working with our building and grounds committee to establish our CIP over the next, our capital improvement plan over the next several years. And those HVAC units will be part of that. We do have a prioritized list of what needs to be done first. So we'll start tackling those as we can.
And I'm sorry, Jeff, did you say that it was 11 million for the whole district for this HVAC? Not including the 3 phase?
Yeah, the 2 elementary schools are the worst. Like, CES actually has a little bit of air. Belmont Elementary has none.
No air, that's not good.
So,
Okay.
those are the two we're gonna try to focus on right away. But we don't really want to take out a bond, so, and you don't want to replace them all at once, because we'll be in the same trouble we're in right now.
Not that we have $100 million.
We don't have $100 million sticking around, but if we tackle, 3 or 4 units, whatever we can, unspent funds at the end of the year, put it towards that instead of trying to go after a new loan.
Right.
It's more responsible that way.
My turn. Well, as many of you know, town of Belmont is in its second year of the default budget, and rumor is that it probably won't pass this year. But the Board of Selectmen, we still have one more meeting just to tidy up some things, because we're dealing with the increase in health insurance. Speaking of health insurance companies, the town of Belmont uses Health Trust, and they just said that they're pretty good about making sure that there's a guarantee written in to what's happening with school care won't happen with them. And she said they've been pretty successful for the town places. So I'm gonna throw that out there for everybody. That's the company that the municipality uses. And she's pretty sure that they can work with schools too. So there's that. We worked very hard in our department heads. Worked very hard to try to keep everything to a minimum. I don't have the final numbers yet because we're not finished, but and there aren't any really big ticket items except for the union ones that we have to do the sheriff, highway, police and the fire, necessary to review their contracts. I think we have agreements, but I haven't seen anything solid yet. And other thing that may hit the ballot is the library has been working last year on their expansion plans. It's beautiful. It really is. It's much needed. I don't know. But if anybody wants to see what that looks like, the librarian has plans and everything.
Questions for us?
Nope.
Finally, our public hearing on the budget on one. Where is it this year? Belmont.
Yes, Belmont this year.
That's something to keep in mind. There will not be a public hearing here at Canterbury School. This is Belmont.
And did you have a date on that?
January 15th with the snow date of the 20th.
I'm sorry?
January 15th, snow date is the 20th.
And if I don't put it in the phone right now, it will not happen.
So I just want to highlight, we've gone to one because between both towns, the attendance has been pretty poor. And so it just made sense, if we're going to do it in front of 2 people, why not just do it in front of 7 people, 1 location? But I always feel like by doing that, we're leaving one town out of it every other year. So I just want to make sure that we make people clear that it's in Belmont this year, but well, we can't get people to come ask questions too.
No.
And last year I was worried about Belmont people. Canterbury. So definitely, don't worry about the location. Ask questions.
It's probably what we're going to do that. Canterbury will travel to Belmont for that area, and then Belmont travel in the area. It's based on historical practices.
Just make sure you send us all the information into the town newsletter so we can adequately let people know. I'm always happy to make sure that that information gets out, probably 2 months ahead.
I guess the other thing you mentioned, getting the information out. We have talked a little bit about trying to get information out to not just parents. Parents are on a lot of these mailing lists, but folks that don't have kids in the schools. And I think we're always open to ideas that you may have for us to get that message out about what's going on with the budget, all the great things that are happening, these projects that high school students doing, middle school students, elementary. We definitely have a lot of great things going on, but I question if two towns as a whole know that. So we're always looking at ways to increase that visibility without hiring a bunch of people to do other things. Obviously, that's expensive.
I think our community Facebook pages work pretty well. And I think the other officials, like the school make a post as Shaker Regional, the other officials like myself and, even your members, best to just share that among Canterbury dudes too, and you'll see things and you go, oh, this is school related, we'll share them. There's a couple of people I don't know if they're parents. There's one lady that just shares everything that the school does. And it moves because, if nothing else, it has people asking questions.
She is a parent. She is a parent.
Okay. Well, she posts everything, you see it, and then I share it, and, put it on the community page, and it goes.
But I don't often see I see, if I go to the SAU big page, but I don't often see things who are Canterbury, the town. Not town, big T, town, little T page. And I just have to look more closely. But yeah. Yeah, 'cause there is so much going on, we get news every month, like just from the elementary school, but we have a little bit more from the middle school and high school. I'd love to. I had to pull teeth to get the name of the high school graduates this year, which should be pretty basic to send to Canterbury. Also considering one I think Canterbury student is valedictorian, so that was nice to know. But yeah, I'd say, is it Kim Haley, is that her name? Yeah. She wants to send anything along, try and post it as best we can, for sure.
So we put out a newsletter as well, usually flags and fundraisers and what's going on in town, each department. Usually there's a little synopsis and anything that we have going on in town. We've got a bunch of program uses to promote our fundraisers and things like that. So if if you reach out to Colleen Ackerman, she'll give you the deadline every month, and then you just put your submission to her, and she just posts it. It's an online edition, but you can access it through the website.
Actually, that's fine, we'll put a link on our website to yours, might as well. You should put one on yours to us.
Call Colleen, extension 118.
All right.
Tangential question. It seems you guys fix buses. A lot of people are very pleased with pickup and drop off, kids getting to school on time. So is that figured out with the first student, or is that still up in the air?
Don't jinx us now.
A lot of people this year
I didn't ask that
very
question.
happy with when their kids getting to school on time and everything going better. So
That's great. That's great.
causing you guys to shake
Right
off
off the bat.
It was with the apps, but not the times. A little bit
There's always room for improvement, but it seems better than it was.
It's dramatically better than last year. So
That's great to hear, thank you.
it's nice to see that kind of get resolved.
I have been very pleasantly, surprised with the app that has actually worked. Yeah, surprisingly well.
What is with all these apps?
I think that raises a question for me, because when we talk about communicating with our school community and our community at large, there is that population that is not accessing things electronically.
Right.
And we rely so heavily on electronic communication, social media, websites, and so forth. We're missing a population of our community by only doing the electronic form of communication. So that's a challenge, because we can put things in the paper. We have all kinds of accolades that our students are achieving in the community and so forth. They make it in the actual hard copy paper, the electronic version of the paper, whatever it might be, but I feel like we're missing that population of families that aren't utilizing social media or accessing websites. So I don't know if the town thinks about that and how you might get those out to people. I think you do a hard, Canterbury do a hard copy of your newsletter.
In Canterbury, hard copy is mailed to every household, free of charge.
How many times a year?
Every month.
Every
Well, I lied. July and August is a combined issue. because the newsletter editor needs to come on. So that would be me.
That's you.
But it does get, and that's part of the Canterbury United Community Church service to the community for just that reason. But it's also supported by the advertising and donations from the town and from other committees for just that reason, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to know what's going on. So, for the reason to put your news in as well. We have to.
And Mike, when you identify the people that are inclined to do things, electronically, and then, Sharon, I completely agree with you. And as soon as someone talks about an app, it's like, oh my gosh, there's another one. So there's a fairly large group of people who are, who just will say, hey, send me an email. But that's not the latest and greatest, and flashy, and I'm sitting right beside them, it's like, oh, just try this app, and this app, and this app. So it's, even within the electronic savvy, community, there's pretty serious divisions about how far people are willing to go to try to access this stuff.
Well, I'll give you an example, and I don't know if it's just me. Between my husband and I, our children range from age 38 down to 12. So I have a 7th grader in the middle school. Okay, and so when our oldest, we could call the school, we could go in, we could go see the nurse. We could, when the bell rang after school, we could go find a teacher and say, hey, you got it. So just before the end of last year, when that pickup patrol app went live, I'm like, are you kidding me? Now I can't even call the secretary and say, hey, the kid's got a dentist appointment. I can pick him up this afternoon. And I asked her, and she's like, no, that's what the app is for. It has made me feel completely cut off from my child in school. And I don't know if that's just me, I'm not technologically or, haven't changed with the times, but that's with all of the apps and all of everything. I just feel totally disconnected from the phone every day. So.
I guess I'm unclear, can I call the school and talk to the secretary? I have to use the app?
And the families are directed to the app.
Because it's simpler, or because your secretary is overwhelmed with other chores?
Both.
Yeah.
And with the app, you don't get mixed messages, so you know exactly what that parent wants for that pickup plan that day. And you're not subject to passing sticky notes from the office to the classroom teacher who's trying to teach at the end of the day and keep things in order. So it's much more streamlined, and the information is much more precise and accurate.
I will say I've heard cases where things that I personally haven't experienced, but parents that are in disagreement or divorce situations, some parent can't pick up the kid, it's only this parent, and you have this fighting going on. The teacher has the opportunity to see who's picking up the student. They don't have to worry about whether it's right or wrong. They use that application and they feel safe. But definitely situations where it's come in handy that I hadn't considered, but for teachers, I think.
So that's curious, in the app, does it have the ability to lock certain people, like this person cannot pick up my child? It's in the app?
You should go through the court order to the administration of each school, they, make sure. I don't know, I don't have those circumstances. All I know is for 4 years, I picked the child up at school every Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and now she's like, well, you've got an app for that. I don't, yeah.
Now you can't call the
But
student.
it's one of those, but it also comes to one of those things too. Before every budget meeting and every department head we talk to, we say, this is not about what you want or what you want to try. If you don't absolutely need it, don't put it in your budget. And it just seems like, I don't know how many apps, it's 3 or 4 apps that go just to it. I just don't necessarily see how those are, I need to have this because this is going to help us to make this call.
So, did I hear you said for the newsletter that goes out, it's partially funded by advertising?
It is. We're rearranging how that works because now we've got so much advertising, it's hard to fit in the news. But yeah. And also groups like the farmers market chips in because, you know, we put in information all summer long and the library, we work with the library chips in, the town has chipped in, various organizations have helped, you know, also in memorial of somebody. The editor sadly died 2 years back, so they asked that donations be made to the church to fund the newsletter in his honor. Money comes in from all over the place.
So like Michael was saying, we talked about this type of paper version. The school district used to send, I think it's quarterly newsletters on paper, it might have been multiple pages. And we talked about, you know, reinstituting that, came back to that, and we asked, what would it cost to mail? And then we saw the number, and we're like, we're trying to keep the budget as low as possible, now we're gonna add, you know.
Well, it runs about 9,000 to 11 a year, depending on how much. And you have to have somebody do it, that's the hard part. The money is findable, but the person is harder. But it's great. So, I'll talk to anybody from your town who wants to do it. They can help me for a year.
Other questions? Anything else for us?
No, other than thank you.
Thank
The
you.
invitation is always appreciated. Please keep extending it. It really is helpful for us. I hope for you as well.
I request the next year we meet in Belmont, please.
We also, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Start
So as requested at our last meeting, you have two handouts this evening. The first one is a list of priority building improvements or purchase of new equipment. And we also looked at priority on the CIP list. So we prioritize those. Number one clearly is a top priority down to number 4. So when we put together the figures to this, our original budget, when we put it together, the quotes for some of our CIP items were lower than they've recently come in. We originally had the fire alarm system at CES at $25,000. That quote recently came in at $42,500. We had an original quote to replace the roof above the cafeteria and kitchen at VHS. That was originally at $81,000. That's now come in at $132,500. So if you were to take our number one priority items listed up top and our priority items on the CIP. If you were just to do those priority items, there would be a savings of $20,000 in the proposed operating budget. So that doesn't include the other priority areas, 2, 3, 4 on up top, as well as we would be potentially moving the garage unit on the modular site of BES, move that out a year or two on the CIP, which is $50,000. So we add up the additional costs and subtract some of the other items that were in your proposed operating budget, there would be a savings of $20,000.
What's the space of time between the initial estimate and the updated estimate?
That I don't know in the top of my head.
In the year?
I would say it's been a year since we received that last quote.
Quite dramatic.
Yes, and that's what we've been noticing. So one thing what we've learned is that we need to update these quotes more often, particularly going into the budget development cycle so that we have the accurate figures, so we're not coming to you after the fact saying that we're now getting a quote that's significantly higher than we planned. So that'll be a change in our process in the future.
Can I ask how, when you requested people to do a bidding process where you take, you make this available where anybody got it is bid for it?
We usually shoot for 3 competitive quotes and we're going through the bidding process until we're ready to formalize who the vendor's going to be.
How do you narrow down where you're getting the quotes?
Usually from companies that we have worked with. And sometimes there's very few that are doing some of the work. So based on vendors that we've used in the past. So that was one request of last meeting, was this prioritized list. And then the next sheet is, there was a request for the responsibilities that are on top of just standard mowing and weed whacking for our grounds crew. So these are a list of items that they do outside of the landscaping needs. So that's what you have this evening. Welcome.
So, my goal for the meeting is to provide Mike with direction until we meet again as far as, all right, where are we as a board, and I'm interested in the advisory folks as well, where are we comfortable as far as, Michael asked early on in the process, before we even got started, what was the board thinking? You know, I might say flat, somebody might say 2%, somebody, like, we just had our ideas before we even knew anything about health insurance. You know, so now that we have all the information from us, and we've had some presentations from the administrators, we look at the increase, we say, I'm not happy with it, but it is what it is. I don't see any issues. You're comfortable with it, move forward. Or, you know, me personally, I'm not comfortable presenting the higher increase. I know what we presented last year. I'm happy people put a motion on the floor and deliver it. So I'm not comfortable. I don't know what the increase was last year, like 6. I said, hi. Or I'm happy to put a motion on the floor. I personally don't think we can provide a 6% increase. I think that's going to fly. I could be wrong. So we have to have a plan. What are we going to do? What are we going to bring back to Michael and say, we need to cut this or cut that, or what the amount is? That's my business.
One of the things that you spoke about at the last meeting was, was to show some areas or give ideas. So how do we, if someone has an idea, are we just shooting from the hip and throwing everything out there just for people to listen? Or how would you like that process to be?
I guess first off, I would like an idea from the board, because you're voting on the budget, if you're comfortable where things are. If we have a majority of 5 people that are comfortable, then it doesn't matter what you propose or I propose or anyone proposes. I think the board's going to want to stick with what's been proposed by my commission board. I don't have a feel for what other people think. I talked to Michelle, and that is it. It's the one person I talked to. I just talked to her because Michelle.
I think that there is a difference between a comfort level and what is reasonable given the current economic climate. Am I comfortable with a 6% increase? Of course not. Don't want it to go up that much. However, there are things that are happening at the state level, at the federal level, that we have absolutely no control over. I have no control over the healthcare increases or anything like that. And everything that we talk about, again, directly affects students, it directly affects teachers, it directly affects our administrators. And I think that some of us may have forgotten the reason that we sit on this board. It's to put these students first. Don't get me wrong, taxpayers absolutely come into it, but these students can't vote for us. We're here to represent them, to put their best interests first. And honestly, I'm not happy with the 6% increase, but I can't change what's happening at the federal and state levels. And this was very reasonable. It came in below default. I can't in good faith take things away from these students like this. So I guess that's where I stand.
Other thoughts?
So I wanted to add that a couple months ago, we had discussed a grant writer position. I went through the rationale sheets. I kind of found a few places where we could improve on or things that we could potentially remove off the budget. So if we had this grant writer, so I know like the athletic trainer came up in discussions as a potential to remove that. I don't think that's a great idea. I think our student athletes deserve that athletic trainer, especially the degree we're going on right now. We should help a student athlete not get hurt. Let's do it. But there's other ways that we might be able to look at funding those positions. The BES playground, the
sorry, they can't hear what you're saying.
And we hear over here.
Oh, sorry. I've got a poll too, so it's not a little muffled. The BES playground, the $3,000 to lower the basketball hoops. I know Ben Hill talked about wanting to redo the playground there, and I think that could potentially be moved off the budget because he's wanting to start a committee to do fundraising because the elementary school houses our preschool. So why not redo that and have the fundraising, remove it from the budget? The kids still get it. The HVAC systems, there's a grant coming out called the Northern Border Regional Commission that could potentially be coming out in January. Looking at that, in the past they've provided funding for infrastructure up to $1 million. It can be used towards construction, also the HVAC system in Belmont. And I don't know, Debbie, can you speak to this at all? Like, when you're applying for grants in your position, how are you finding like the application process? Is it easy for you? I mean, can we justify this position where we have somebody that's looking for funding elsewhere and is knowledgeable about the systems and can process those applications?
I'm certainly not knowledgeable on a lot of the grant writing, so I do struggle through them, and I tend to lean on other people as I'm trying to write them. I reached out to like Mike Davey at EEI when I was trying to write some of those other grants. A lot of them, I don't have time to sit there and go look for grants. When I find one, if I stumble across one or if someone gives me a heads up about one, I do my best to try to apply for it.
So I know this isn't, sorry again, as we're moving forward with this, I know this isn't going to hugely impact the budget for 2027 because we'll have these things in the budget. But if we have somebody identifying where this money is that can go after it, that knows how to apply for it, we could potentially increase what we're giving back to taxpayers at the end of the year, even if we're not able to remove it from the budget up front. I think that's something we should definitely look at because there's opportunities that we're missing out there.
So specifically for that position, I think we talked potentially about a contracted position. That's not in the budget.
It's not in the budget.
Can you explain why it's not here? Did it get discussed?
It wasn't part of my proposed budget. And it was brought up by Caitlin, originally brought it up. I did do some research on how we would potentially budget for that. And I polled the regional Lakes Region School Administrators Association group to find out specifically who might have a grant writer for competitive grants. Most school districts have someone that's dedicated to help write their annual federal entitlements like Title I, Title IIA, and so forth. But we're talking about competitive grants at this point. I know that the Manchester School District, they contract for the service at $3,000 a month for 6 months. So you're talking 18 grand there. Only one other school district in the Lakes region, Manchester's not part of the Lakes region, but another school district in the Lakes region, they have an employee at $60,000 a year. And others are contemplating getting a grant writer for somewhere up to $100 an hour. So I don't have a lot of information on what that cost would be. So, because not many people have it. So I didn't put it in the budget because it wasn't something that I put in the proposed operating budget, but I see the benefit of it. Not sure how to budget for it.
I just noticed those, some of them are bigger projects. And like I said, if we can adjust that off the budget, which I don't think we should adjust those things off the budget, they need to be done. But if we can potentially have those savings going forward, I mean, Edgar brought up a good point with the HVAC systems. If we can fund part of that, as we're going down the line in the future, the cost of energy is going to go down if we have the updated equipment. I mean, even the grid-based power, we could potentially find funding for that as well.
Your thoughts?
All right. Well, we had the administrators, budget last detailed. I was fine with that. I mean, that's all stuff that kids need. Because on sick and cherry picking, what the kids actually really need is that 11%. And this summer, we actually, we had the New Hampshire School Board Association there. Came in and talked, and he says the only way you can effectively change that percentage number is to drift, to cut staff. So that's a hard conversation I can have because I'm sick of cherry picking off the 11%. I've done that for how many years now? We all know I'm cheap. But I'm done picking that because that's stuff they need. So we have to get serious and talk about staffing. Do we have too much staffing? And I only can base it on, I've been in school a long time, but I know when I was in high school, my average class was like 32 kids. And I was looking at it, and I'm on schedule sticker. And you guys can educate me on it, but the class sizes are small. Some classes only have 2 people. So that's my thought. If we're going to go after something, we have to cut staff. And that's my position. Do I like the 6.8 I don't like the default budget either. I don't like any of that. So that's where I stand. Like, I don't want to sit here and dig through, we're gonna take a ball from Billy for like $10. I'm done with that. Either we're gonna take a good chunk or I don't want to support this budget at all. I know Michael and Debbie and everybody did their due diligence, and we cannot control the insurances and other factors. And I don't like it. Eric was talking about if you're ever going to do real change, you have to lift. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
I'm glad to hear you say that you're sick of picking at the 11%, because I completely agree with you. Those are the things that you see. Full stop.
And I also believe in staying up for the taxpayers too, because they fund that city.
Right there.
And I don't want to be like these other school districts. Like, look at the school districts this year, what they've had to do.
One thing I did want to point out though about the class sizes that are 2, usually they are integrated with other classes, correct, Michael? So those class sizes of 2, it's kids who are sitting in a class and they have slightly different work.
Well, that's good to know, because I didn't know that.
So it's not just 2 kids sitting in a classroom getting taught.
But I also don't want to be like a Manchester, all of a sudden, taxpayers like call you back about $9 million. Because we're at that point, we're a small community, 1,100 kids, we're almost all, I rounded it up to 32, like we're like 31 million. That's a lot for 1,100 kids in various meetings. And I know we want the best for our kids, but at some point, like every household has done lately, we have to tighten the belts a little bit. We have what is the need, and it's a lot, but there's a lot of wants too when it comes to staff. They have to look at that.
So, Jeff completely agree, and Alice completely agree, on the, we're not going to make progress on, pens and paper and that type of thing. And Jeff, I'm assuming that you probably have the same sentiment that I do, that I am not anti-teacher, I'm not anti-education. However, when I look at the scheduling, I spent 23 years in public education. I've taught under virtually every schedule that I think known to man, from full block to 7-period day to modified block to alternating blocks. I mean, you named it. If you name it, I've learned it. If you look at, if you just take one department in the in the other category for the for the high school class sizes, we have 5 teachers teaching 15 classes for a semester, which is basically a year's worth of content, with the exception of Algebra 1. There's 195 students being spread out between those 15 classes. If you divide it out, you have approximately 13 students per class. Fairly small. If we were to revert to a 7-period day, teachers teaching six classes, and drop to 3 teachers within the math department, you're going to be at 18 classes, more than what is currently being offered, with that same 195 students, where we're now dropping to 11 per class. And I understand that you're going to have some classes that are going to be larger than others, because everybody takes Algebra 1 and everybody takes geometry, and not everybody takes some of your advanced classes. But you can go through all of the major departments. Math, drop it by 3, you're going to drop the student class ratio. Same with social studies. You're gonna go from 16 students down to 11. In English, you're going to go from 15 to 12. Again, offering more classes with a 7-period day. The one that may be a little bit difficult is science, because the way that the state certifies science teachers is they're requiring certification in every content area. But From my work with the state, I believe that they would give a little bit of grace and time for faculty to pick up some of those other certifications. I have a daughter who's currently in class of 3 right now. It's not a combined class. I think we first need to look at the Appendix B. And I know I've said this before, where if we're not showing academic content within the Schedule B, I have no problem with it being offered for if teachers still want to supervise it. But we can trim some significant dollars on looking at that Schedule B, and I would say that we probably need to look there first. And then secondly, taking a look at our schedule and looking at the faculty, looking at the number of classes being offered, looking at the sizes. I march all over my papers. And I don't know how many, if everybody remembers, we have approximately the same number of students now than we did late 80s through mid 90s, and at that time we had 3 English teachers, we had 3 science teachers, we had 3 math teachers. The reason that it went from 3 to 5 is because of block scheduling, and there's value to block scheduling. I'm not going to take that take that away, but it's extremely difficult for small schools to be able to live within the block scheduling and be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers. And so, Alice, to your point, I agree. I don't want to take things away from kids, but this would be a great way to offer just as many classes, with a reduction in force.
I like that you are having that idea. I do just wonder if Michael, you could tell us how going away from block scheduling would affect things like the QOP. Would we be able to do that?
It would be some more classes.
It would be more
If it doesn't
difficult.
change the time, it would definitely be difficult too. I'm only familiar with one other school in the Lakes region that doesn't do block scheduling.
That's my only concern with that, is that significantly reduces, the ability to utilize those QOP classes, which are wildly popular. So
that's part of
something that would need to be.
And that's part of why the numbers are down within the classes, because we have so many students involved with you doing. Going through all those different departments, I think it would be realistic to have minimal impact on the curriculum with a reduction of force. I would say somewhere between, at the high school alone, between 7, 8, 9, something along those lines. And you do that, you're looking at $1 million. Once you factor everything in, because we're not going to get away from that 6% increase with pencils and papers. It's not going to happen. Jeff, you identified it's a tough conversation to have, I don't think anybody here is anti-faculty in the Shaker Regional School District. I know I'm not, but I don't feel that we're using resources effectively when you can do a simple, schedule change, offer more opportunities in classes, and decrease the class size. So I'll stop there.
Okay. I'm kind of on the same lines as Alice as far as I'm certainly not comfortable with the number that's presented. However, I recognize a great deal of it is outside of our control. I agree with Jeff that not going through and looking at small nickel and dime, trying to figure out what we can take away is going to be the best use of anyone's time here. I have not done a deep dive like Mark as far as what our numbers look like. Fortunately, I did go through this district. Fortunately, I never was in a class size of 32. I was more fortunate to be in a smaller, like maybe 20.
You were in the new high school, that's why.
What's that?
You were in the new high school towards the end, right?
I was, but
We were all here in middle school. Well, it is middle school, that was our high school. There wasn't very much room.
But I have had a daughter that's recently graduated from our district and has benefited from class sizes that are in place. I'm certainly open to looking at class sizes, but I would hate to see offerings being limited to our students by removing. So I understand looking at that, I think that makes sense to look at it, but I would want to know more about what would go away if we eliminate. And as far as what we're eliminating, I would like to know, are you looking at eliminating a staff probation permit? What really make a dent in the budget? We're looking at not eliminating one staff member, it's multiple. So I would be hesitant to rip without knowing what full outcome would look like for our students.
I do have a question. The social getting together, is there anything going on that?
What's the question again?
Is there, the question is there any movement on the Lakes Region High School Consortium? Again, as we're in the first semester of that consortium, I have a meeting next week with all the high school principals and part of that consortium is get a feel for how many kids are taking advantage of it. I'm gonna get a sense, probably not many, because kids want to stay with their peers. So, but the opportunities are there. But I'll try to feel next week.
I want to add that if we do go with this, I want to make sure that our students aren't losing opportunities. And if that's something the consortium is something that we can better utilize, I might feel more comfortable looking at those.
Interested to hear what the advisory budget committee has to say as well.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot this past week, and I appreciate the time and effort done for the draft of the budget. Because I realize a lot of time went into this. And we can be nitpicky and create a difficult life for our faculty and staff by taking deductions such as they had to travel allotment. It was like $1,500 for one person. Well, if we take several of those and then the speech pad at $500 and you add these up and maybe we'll get up to maybe $10,000 that we can save or something. But like others have said, that's nothing when you talk about a multi-million budget. So my concern is that we think outside of the box. And I love Peyton's idea about grant writing and solar panels. Can we put it on the high school and save money that way? We need to think of different ways because this way is not the best way that I've seen. And if the schedule at the high school is working, why do we only have 32% math proficiency? We have to do something about that. That's 1/3 of the students are proficient in math, and half, 57% are reading proficient. So changes might be beneficial to the students who we are focusing on. And so I'm definitely thinking about the high school more than the elementary. Because elementary, you have all different levels in one classroom. You've got ESL, if you have one, you've got special ed, you've got the slow learner, you've got the gifted child, you've got the behavior problems. So elementary, you can't really increase the class size very much because they have so much to handle. But aren't the middle school and the high schools level out in the classrooms? So they're all pretty much on the same level, same skill. So I'm thinking of middle school and high school as the focus for checking on the staff. And maybe we're doing great, but I think it definitely needs to be checked out. And as a voter, I would go to the default budget unless I see that the school board is really working hard to make changes.
But I guess my default budget right now is higher than what
I know.
the proposed budget is, so
But
you
the
could do that, but you're actually giving,
Have you ever seen the manual for voting in Belmont? I don't know how it is in Canterbury, but it's like that thick. And so the typical voter is gonna go, default. or no, 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 no. So we have to prove that we're really thinking about them and the students. Improve.
Okay, all right, so, I did want to say, thank you to Darcy for the budget that you brought together. And you're not tone deaf to the community because you brought something to the table that's better than the default budget, so I really appreciate that. And there's some token things in there that I think everybody can kind of agree on. It won't ruffle too many feathers, whether it's basketball hoops or benches or a carpet for the kindergarten. They have a carpet, but I don't think that that's really gonna move the needle. And so I'm all for like talking about the whole budget as a whole and not just the 11%. And I mean, I have ideas, I've been talking with people and there are ideas like percolating, and we need to find a good forum or mechanism to explain and present ideas. I think everybody around this table, like if you were king for a day or you were king for a day and somebody put a crown on your head, you can make any change you want. Like it's time from your expertise of your volunteer efforts, you know, on the school board and I know there's limitations that you're up against, but if those were magically like dream, like and innovate. And my background is originally was in engineering, and you get some of the best designs when there's like the most constraints on your fermenter or your mixer blender, or like the more constraints there are on a problem, the more creative the outcome is. And I think we find ourselves in that, and I think we can work together to invent and dream and ground test. You guys are super important in ground testing the ideas that come up of like that won't work because of this, you know, like we need that. But I would like to see like for us to agree, I would love to see for us to, there be some level of agreement that the whole budget is up for discussion, or no, we're gonna stick to the 11%. Like that is something that we can kind of get a thumbs up, thumbs down temperature test on. If the whole budget's up for discussion, I mean, there's ways to handle PUA. There are ways to handle special ed. There's ways to handle the staffing. But we need the environment and the camaraderie and the collegiateness to be able to like bounce those around, you know, and not in a threatening way, but in a like brainstorming, problem solving, example to our students kind of way, you know.
Couple of things. We're looking at right now, yes, in the book budget, it's 1.7 that you're looking at the increase, but in reality, this year, or for next year, well, for taxes this year, the budget is going up 2.3 because you're making a payment to the insurance for $600,000 that now is not gonna go back to the town, so that the taxpayer has to make up for it, right? You're making that payment and now it's not being funded back to the taxpayer, so in reality, the budget is going up $2.3 million. And the way it's looking for how the air handler situation is gonna be handled is that it looks like at the end of the year when you have the funds left, that's where you're gonna be taking the funds to do the repairs.
I don't know if we definitively said that, we did it this year.
Well, yeah, that's how it happened this year, but I don't see how else you're gonna be doing it. So I'm looking at next year, that's what's gonna happen again. So most likely there won't be the $900,000 that are normally returned back to the towns. So it'll be always, again, less. And I know this is just a school district budget, right? But for towns like the Canterbury, there's a lot of growing pains that it has to go through, and because of the way it's been running, there's some budget increases that are coming up. And especially the population changes. I made a post the other day trying to let people know that, hey, we pay a percentage of the budget based on how many people we have in the school district. So if our people increase and the number of students are dropping, our budget percentage is gonna increase. That means we gotta pay more into the budget and a little bit less for Belmont. And that has to come out from the town. they gotta make up in taxes. So, this may seem like something that, oh, you can't control the insurance. Well, insurance is something that you have, just like it was told to me last year, when it came to the COLA, that the retirees are getting 2.5% and the increase, some people were 3.2, that not everybody gets it, right? So when it comes to insurance, you gotta make something change, because this increase is not sustainable for people, and people are really struggling already to make their budgets at home. And while, you're getting the bill and you have to pay it, a $2.3 million increase this year is gonna carry over to next year, and it's just gonna keep accumulating, because there's other increases that are coming up when it comes to insurance, along with other, how much the state is gonna be paying for things. So we're only gonna keep increasing. The budget's only keep increasing on things that you can't control. So you gotta be really creative on how many people you have. And while it may seem like it's a hard situation to modify the high school schedule to a 7 period, and I understand going from 4 blocks to 6 or 7 blocks, it changes it's gonna change the diploma situation, right? Because currently, all the classes are worth pretty much 1 point, and if you switch over to a 6 period or 7 period, the classes are worth less. Is that correct?
No, you still have similar credit hours. You're going to class every day to that same class. So you still have half credit or full credit courses.
Yeah, instead of 1 credit, right? Because currently the courses are a lot of courses are 1 credit instead of 1. So yeah, that's gonna change, and when it comes to the credit, the diploma requirement, that's gonna make a change too. And I know people may have negativity over that, but I think by switching over to a 6 or 7 block, you give more options for classes, and people can actually get a schedule that they actually prefer in the classes they want to take, compared to a 4 block that quickly limits what classes you can take because they get full, or when it's being offered is not the right fit for your schedule. But again, I would like you to understand that this year, the budget is actually going up $2.3 million that taxpayers are gonna have to make up for. Because the $600,000 that has to be paid for the insurance is no longer going back to the town to offset the taxes. So while this might be 1.7 on the books, that's what the taxpayer is gonna have to be, along with whatever the town's increases are gonna be, make up. So, yeah, I understand that small little things don't have an effect, but so when suggestions come up about certain positions that probably might not be necessary, I want people to please have that understanding in the back of your brain that taxpayers looking at it. And this is the parents, a lot of times, of kids that are in the school district. Because if people are moving out with their kids because they can no longer afford being here, it can be into another New Hampshire town or it can be out of state, we're going to be losing students. Because the livelihood of people also has an impact on the students.
I just want to make sure that I understand about the credits. So if we were to switch to a 6 or 7 class schedule, it would reduce the amount of credits that a student gets? Yes. Okay.
And we're required to offer a specific number of credits in content areas in order to receive a diploma. So,
Okay, thank you. I misunderstood that part.
Just real quick on the high school credit thing, like, I will, the first to admit ignorance as far as what's better, what worked, pluses and minuses. I can't remember what I had when I was in school. It was more than 4 classes, so probably 6 or 7. I would, like, if this is something, well, one, the negativity of you goes, this is great, but we're not gonna be able to implement this in this budget year. And two, you can't just change the teacher's schedule without opening up the CBA or incorporating in CBA time. That's just a negativity in me that I have in the back of my head that, hey, we gotta think about these things. But if enough people have an interest in it, we should bring Mr. Finch here next meeting to talk about, from his point of view, he's a high school principal, the positives and the negatives, and why he might want to consider it, maybe why he has no interest in it.
And maybe Beverly as the curriculum, I don't know if that would be beneficial as well, but.
I just don't want to lose sight of the purpose of the conversation, which is the budget. We can talk scheduling, and Mark did this. How many schedules have you, in your 20 plus years of education, how many different types of scheduling work? So we can talk scheduling, but tie it to the budget. And I think that's what's important, because we also, you brought this up, Sean, that would have to be negotiated. It's very specific in the collective bargaining agreement, the number of blocks that are taught at the high school. So that would have to be negotiated. Negotiations start this summer for the following school year. I don't want to lose sight of the purpose of the conversation around this table is the budget.
I think what you said.
So if we broke into the negotiated agreement, if we so choose to do a reduction in force, then at that point it becomes negotiable.
If you're contemplating a reduction in force, you're not opening up the collective bargaining agreement. You are notifying the union that you are considering a reduction in force. That doesn't open up the contract, because we need a contractual obligation of notifying them.
Just from my own understanding, I'm not advertising that this is the right way to go, but if we did a reduction in force, would we say we want to get rid of 5 teachers, but you would ultimately make the decision where those 5 teachers come from?
Yes.
Or, so it wouldn't be like we could say we're gonna eliminate 3 teachers from the high school. It would be, we want to eliminate 3 teachers, and you might pick the high school or the middle school. So,
But I think there's people around this table that would like to make recommendations.
right, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we can make recommendations, but
Right, but there needs to be a process and a format by which anybody at this table who has ideas can elicit that, like share them and explain them.
What I've gotten so far is directly from Mark. You're the only person that sort of has given what I saw here is taking the departments down to 3 teachers.
Most of, with the exception of, I think, social studies, which is only 4. But I think if you drop that to 3, it was a similar deal. You're increasing the number of classes, available while dropping the student. But
So that, for example, in the science department, would be 3 teachers. So we have 6. If we would follow that train of thought. But I have to look at the whole district, because the reduction of force, people are moving. It's all based on certifications, it's based on seniority, it's number one piece of criteria that we look at, so there'll be movement across the entire district. If that's the case, it's not just simply, you're gonna lose 3 science teachers at the high school.
Yes, just to make it clear, when I talk about 6-class, 7-class schedule, I'm talking about semester based. So I'm not talking about year-long classes. So it would require a reduction on the credit per hour when it's semester based, right?
Right, but
Because the state requires a certain amount of time in the classroom, not a credit.
but the way that the classes work, it would go from a semester-long class to a year-long class.
No, but what I'm talking about is semester based, 6-class schedule, like a lot of schools do.
That's become much more flexible over the years, that you're a credit across a year, a credit for a semester. It's not about seat time, it's about your total number of instructional hours.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not credits per hour, it's not about seat time anymore. So you can gain that credit with any type of schedule that you're gonna have.
Yeah. So that's why I was talking about
I just wanted to make
reduction.
sure I understood it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even again, purposes of conversation. If as a board, we opted to do a reduction in force, if we, whatever number you choose, I mean, if we shot for the $1 million mark, I mean, $1 million out of 30 million, it's still only a 3.3% reduction in the, in the budget. And that's at $1 million. So, where I went through, we need to be looking at more than just one silver bullet. I know Jeff, and you've talked about, you've been unsatisfied with the Schedule B, and the offerings, and I have to agree with you when I've gone through and looked at them. So, I truly believe that we could probably do a cut in the area of 1.5 million-ish, maybe as high as 1.75, if we looked at, dropping some of the faculty in the departments at the high school level, and taking a good long hard look at the Schedule B and focusing on the level of academics that the clubs offer. But again, at that point, you still we'd be looking at a 3.5% drop versus a 5 point something, increase. So, and that's a huge, Jeff, you said it, that's a tough conversation for a 3.5% drop. Should we be looking at it?
To get yourself to a proposed operating budget that's 1.2% for an increase is about $1.3 million. Just put some numbers to it.
Say it again?
Yeah, I didn't
So
follow.
if you were to, currently your operating budget's at 6.2% for proposed increase, in order to get that down to 1.2% is a cut of $1.3 million off of that 1.7. Keep in mind, 0% increase is 1.72, because that's the total increase in the proposed operating budget. So if we were to incrementally go down,
So if we really took a long hard look at staffing and Schedule B, then the best would be able to do is flat, realistically, for round numbers.
which is $1.72 million.
Yeah. Yep.
That'll get you a 0% increase.
I guess, well, two things. One, the reason I'm here is because I think it's in the school system. And it's really important to me that we have a school system where there is a path to college for those that want that or desire that. But also there's a path for people that college isn't the right avenue for them, but going to the trades is like important. Like that's super, I think we've served our students if we can help them launch them as families and as a community and as a school system. I'm also here because my skill, what I do professionally, is data. I analyze data, I move data, I get systems to talk to each other, I'm a data architect. That's the second thing, I want to donate like that kind of thinking to this endeavor, because that's what I'm good at and what I love doing. The third reason I'm here is I was laid off. I was laid off a year ago, and it's been very hard to get into work. And property taxes were due in December. And so like I'm substitute teaching now. Like I just got, when I was sitting in the back there, I looked and I just got I got a rejection letter from a place I was really kind of crossing my fingers on. So we're having to make choices as a family in order to be able to pay the property taxes. We've lived off our savings for a year. My husband's still working. That is pretty impressive to be able to live off of your savings for a year, but the end is here, right? So I need to make sure that I bring all those parts of me to this kind of a discussion, because they all compete with each other. There's no one part of any of that and any of us feel like we gotta get to there together with all those components. I would like to understand something a little better. If you don't have the answer, maybe we can do it offline, but I would like to understand a little bit more about how much class time, maybe the art, music, phys ed, reading specialist, technology integrator, enrichment teacher, like, in terms of scheduling, like, do they do like first grade this day, second grade this day, third grade this day? Do they do like one, those kinds of, I don't know, what do you, they're not the classical teacher, but like the enrichment kind of this area. Is there a name for that kind of a teacher?
Yep, Unified Arts.
Unified Arts. And are they 40 hours a week full time?
Not all of them. The PE teacher here at Canterbury Elementary School is a 0.3 full-time employee, so full-time.
But
and the schedules vary by school.
okay, but like they are all like considered full-time jobs, okay? And so something that I would be interested in is like how much like FaceTime they're spending with kids. Because I'm thinking, you know, as the kids move through their week and they go off to gym, I'm just wondering, I know, is that other time during the day, the gym teacher, I'm just picking on gym, it could be music, it could be anything, but like, I'm not saying what are they doing, but like, how, do they have more child FaceTime? Or is it like, are they have to take FaceTime for 90 minutes a day with students? Because what I dream of, because I'm trying to think creatively, but like, I'll throw this out there and it's not, I really would like to do a presentation and kind of share it to kind of graph it out, but like what if this was like our like special ops team of like Navy SEALs? Like we have our teacher, music teacher, a phys ed teacher, the technology integrator, and there's probably librarians, throw them into like our unified arts people, like, and we give them even a pay raise, okay? But we have this squad, and this day is, you know, Fun Day Monday at Canterbury Elementary. And all day, the grades cycle through those. And that is the day when the teachers can do their planning for the week. They can grade the stuff that's already been turned in. They can do professional development. They can go to the doctor's visit without having to get a sub. Because Monday is Fun Day. And they're cycling, the kids are cycling through, bouncing through, the different grades are bouncing through. And that reduces our needs for subs a little bit because the teachers have a little like extra wiggle room for professional development and dentist appointments that we all, it's life we have them. But then it's like Wild Wednesday at Belmont Elementary, and that squad, our squad of Navy SEALs here, the best of the best, and they get paid well because we're attracting good talent, and they go off to Belmont Elementary and they do their cycle. And Friday, they go to the middle school. And it's like a super fun day. And on those other days, you know, you're doing your math, your English, your foreign language, your social studies, all the, you know, stuff you need to do. But what's cool is we have a Tuesday, Thursday still available for our like hit squad people, right? So that's when they can like think up what they're doing next week, maybe do some evaluations, write up some notes, but they're also available to be substitute teachers. Though that hit squad, we got like 5 or 6 people, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they are available to all schools, even the high school, they're available to the high school. They are fingerprinted and approved, and they can be the substitute teachers, but also be like thinking about like the planning and doing the grading, and I think that builds a lot of resiliency kind of in the system. And it's kind of wacky and it's kind of far out there, but it allows you to drill down I'm gonna make up a number, and I know this is wrong, so just, you know, give me a little. Let's say there's 7 of those categories and we've had 7 at each school, which we don't. It allows you to kind of shrink it down to 1/3 the size because you can recruit and you can pay well that like Navy SEAL team, that core team that travels not to the high school, but to the junior high and the 2 elementary schools. And then the extra librarians and the extra art teachers and extra music teachers and extra technology teachers. And whatever, I'm not fully, but the unified arts, we can shrink it down to 1/3. But, and the kids would wicked look forward to that day at school, because it's like all the fun stuff. But right now, it's kind of peppered throughout the week. You go off, you get under your sneakers, and I don't know, it could be good for morale, and it could shrink down the number of positions. But with that, it frees up some money that we could maybe like invest in those teachers and actually pay them more. you know, than they currently get. So in a way, not everybody wins, but the people that are selected for this position win because they actually get a pay increase. The kids have a morale boost and they're excited. You build in some resiliency for substitute teaching throughout the district. The high school even benefits from this because we have some extra staff available. I don't know. It's just kind of out of the box thinking that I hope everybody kind of be crazy and think of something, you know? So toss that out there. I wanted to give you charts and stuff, but hopefully I conveyed the message.
So I'm listening to you and I'm going, oh, that won't work, that won't work.
I
that won't
know.
work." But that's the type of thing that I think that's the kind of thinking we need. So like, yeah, you do data, get you all the data,
yeah.
come up with ideas. Because I do think that is the type of thing we're doing in the school district is our numbers are going down, our staffing over the years has gone up. How can we, you know, make positive changes and rejigger how things work here? Like, those are great ideas.
But don't just like drop the unified arts down to a third of the staff. Like, give them some skin in the game, hand them some more money because it's good for morale and we value them and they're going to be doing some school traveling.
So, I guess, me personally, I think I said early on, I want to have try to get a flat. Like 1 year where the budget doesn't go up. And of course, that was all before the health insurance required increases and all that. But there's a part of me that feels like basically went with what we've been doing, just added all the required increases against the budget. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but there's a part of me that feels like there was no creativity when it came to creating this budget. And I know there's all kinds of meetings I'm taking, there's all kinds of time spent, but I guess I originally wanted something different. I personally was on the board when we read the entire school district. And that was not good. It was ugly. I regret it to this day. It wasn't a good way to handle things. There are still people that work in this district that do that all the time. My personal life, I've dealt with Griffin. It's horrible. I prefer not to go down that road. I hate it. With that said, I don't understand why we haven't done some type of hiring, like all kinds of other things do. So like, I know that we have some retirements. There's a chance that all the retirements coming up are positions that have to be filled. But if we don't fill them, we have to find other people to take on that work. Reduce the number of teachers in this grade level do it, then I think we should. I think we have to have more creativity when it comes to our staff. I don't know anything about the block scheduling and the 7-period day. We should be having these discussions. Those are not going to be quick discussions. I have my doubts whether they can happen this project. That doesn't mean they shouldn't happen. And they should have our high school principal, we should have our counselors here. I want to hear that stuff. I went through, looking at positions because I think I'm obligated to and I should be doing it. It frustrates me that nobody cares that Belmont Elementary School cut a 4th grade classroom, so they only have 3 4th grades. Nobody talks about that. But then when we go to the 5th grade at the middle school, albeit with Canterbury and Belmont combined, we have 5 teachers. Why? Typically, when you move up the levels, the class size is a bit bigger. But in our cases, in some cases, the class size is actually a bit smaller going to the middle school than they do at the elementary school. We should be looking at that. I don't want to rep people, but it feels crazy that we have 5 teachers at every grade level in middle school. When in some elementary school situations, we've got 1 class here of 20-something. We've got 3rd grade classes. We have 4th grade classes at BES that are around high teens 20. And then we've got middle school classes that are 16. Doesn't make any sense. I think we have to look at that.
Back to Appendix B, can you explain, like, how do we even go about if we wanted to, saying, to fund certain things in there, is there that opening up? So, how does that happen? Like, and
That's what the Appendix B Committee does on an annual basis, if you have a report on the agenda this evening. So they suspend different activities and might add another activity.
if we wanted to say we wanted to spend certain things on it, is that something more than?
And I think that's left up for interpretation. I don't believe so, but people read that language in the collective bargaining agreement differently.
I think the language, when I went and looked that up last spring, it said that the positions themselves, while the salary associated with them is the negotiated fees based on the percentage of what their regular salary is, the existence of the actual position is, I think the exact language is at the sole discretion of the board. If I'm off on that wording, I'm not off on my function. But to your point, Sean, I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody likes to take a reduction for us. It's painful for absolutely everybody. But you've also identified the fact that enrollment numbers have gone down, staffing has gone up, and it hasn't been addressed for many years. Bless you. So it's no different than a principal position that I interviewed for in North Stratford. And the board was very proud of the fact that they had maintained a flat budget for something like 5 or 6 years. And in that interview, I said, well, that's all well and good. I said, but when your budget decides to finally go up, I said, it's going to go up, kind of exponentially. And to a T, it was the following March. All of a sudden, it was all over the papers and the Lancaster paper how the North Stratford, budget, went up by 60-something%, in the course of a year. And that was because they hadn't worked at, resolving a number of problems. They were robbing people to pay ball. I think we should at least look at it and see what Mr. Terzi can come up with, whether it's a modification of schedule, which would require renegotiation. That, in my opinion, that would be the easiest way to be looking at a reduction of force while still offering as much, if not more, than what we're currently offering. I think it's appropriate to look at.
So then are you giving Michael the directive to start looking at a reduction in force?
Well, we have to do that as a board.
I think if we're gonna go down that road, I think we need to provide more than just, I think we probably wanna come up with like a budget number, right? Would that be the most helpful way?
Or some proposals, like what would be the financial impact of this proposal? Because I know you can't go sharing salaries and that kind of stuff, but if we said, or you said, here's a proposal, where's the financial impact? That's something we could probably do. I think the report can hand them a couple of proposals of versions to kind of cost out. Because that would affect your decision if you wanted to open up negotiations or not. Because you could go through that and find, it's not really what we all thought it was cracked up to be, and then you got everybody all upset, and it wasn't a path we were going to follow. It's like scoping.
So far, what I have for proposals are cut 7 to 9 positions at the high school, don't fill the retirement positions, and look at reducing grade levels to 4 teachers at BMS. out of those conversations, those were specific proposals that were made.
All right, and do vacant positions count? Like if I were to give you a number,
Yep,
I would say,
there's a vacancy list on the agreement.
yeah, I'd say, I would like to toss out a proposal, for like 10 to 11 people to streamline the unified arts area to like, to exceptional people, which I'm sure we have, but that they would more travel to, the elementary schools and the middle school. You know what I mean?
So I know you were looking at potential, making sure that there's plenty of face time, teaching time, so those teachers have a full teaching load every week with one prep period per day.
Those unified arts teachers.
All of them, yes.
Yeah.
Other than the part-time PE teacher at CES.
So that means your teachers do music all day long,
Correct.
5 days a week, they're just
All day.
musicking it all the time.
All day.
Okay.
Yep. And where we lose that instructional time is when we have itinerants, like we have a full-time music teacher that travels between Belmont Middle School and Canterbury Elementary School. They lose that instructional time by traveling between buildings, so you're actually losing instructional time, right?
Yeah.
When you already have those teachers that are teaching in full load every day.
Okay, because I'm just, and I'm lumping librarians into, but there's like 2 librarians at the school according to the org chart. And,
Librarian and librarian assistant.
yeah,
So
okay.
librarian goes between Belmont Elementary and here.
Oh, good.
So,
That's what I was
and then
looking
there's a
to.
library assistant that's one in each school.
Okay, because that's what I was hoping to like mimic that kind of thing, but with some of the other unified arts.
So specific to that topic though, we have a part-time phys ed teacher here at schools. We have other positions that go between elementary schools. Does the phys ed teacher at EES not have the capacity to come here one day? Is that not possible? The other ones do that. Phone. Could we look at that as, small meetings, but it's like, we're doing it already in a lot of other unified arts.
So say like the music teacher, they're not doing music at all day, 5 days a week.
Yeah, but the phys ed teacher has to get 300 some students those times, right? So it's routine every year.
But if we get rid of the scheduling, we could,
That's like she's a teacher for years.
Right.
As a board, would it be appropriate for us to run through the Schedule B and kind of do, thumbs up, thumbs down on stuff? And, personally, I would rather look at Schedule B first.
Yeah.
Before we start looking, at a reduction in force, or at least in conjunction. But I don't think that we should be looking at a reduction in force without looking at Schedule B.
It's something within our control, it's not state mandated. The scheduling is something we actually have control
I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying, look at people that are involved as coordinators, co-curriculars, or sports, those positions.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm just going to say one, and it's not picking on anybody, but chess and checkers club, or D&D. I have a daughter that really enjoyed D&D. They struggle paying a stipend for an advisor for D&D or chess and checkers, and actually, chess is probably an argument, for academia, with that. But that's where I think we should go through the list and say, yes, does this have academic value or does it not?
You can certainly do that. I guess I question those that somebody here with deems doesn't have academic value. What does that mean? I'm trying to think it's like $800. I mean, maybe there's 100 of them that great amount that comes out, but I don't think that's the case. Okay. I don't know. Well, we have them. You said we have them. that Appendix B information. Mike, would it be easier for us to say, I don't know, one person, a subset, a majority of the board wants to go from a, whatever, 6.08 to 2, and then we have to figure out how to do 0, or whatever. Like, I just feel like you keep going around in circles, but bottom line, those that want to cut the budget, want to cut the budget. You have to give some real direction.
If you give me a number, then I bring what I would take out of the budget to get to that number and let you know what that impact is.
And the other thing I just want to make sure we
That's the process.
are clear on, we don't have the revenue information, right? So there are times where we have a 0.5% increase in the budget, it's nothing. And then we look at, you know, a home of like $250,000 in Belmont, Canterbury. We see the taxes are going up, you know, this much. I'm going, I'll start up to get almost no increase in the budget, and our taxes are going up $300. I don't get how that works. I have no idea what we're looking at this year, but 6%, I assume it's going to be a pretty good jump from homeowners.
So should we look at, what's the impact on a 2% increase, a flat, and a -2?
We don't know that information. We don't have.
No, I mean, for the school budget. So if we say, all right, so we know what it looks like for around number 6% increase. Would it be appropriate to say, okay, what is it gonna look like and impacts for a 2% increase, flat, and a -2?
So, just talking in general.
I've already gave us the flat, it was 1.7.
Well, right, but not the impacts.
You won't have the impacts until they set the
No,
tax rates.
how it's gonna affect staffing and what the district itself.
It's talking about some
Okay.
budgetary impact.
Yeah.
Cuts to the proposed budget. So 2.2%, I believe I already mentioned this, but if I did not, so going from 6.2 to 2.2% is a $1.1 million cut. That gives you an idea. It's 4 percentage points. It's $1.1 million.
So does -2 mean it's 2.2 million? So is am I missing that?
I don't have -2 on my list. I set it down to 0.
Oh, okay, well, because you said like a 4% would equal 1.1 million, so I thought we would have going down, okay.
I mean, I don't want to dick around about this position, that position. Like, that's your job. I wouldn't know what, I mean, I have my own opinion, but I'm not educated to say, this school should have this many teachers, this school should have this many teachers.
I know, that's why I brought that conversation, because that's the only thing that struck the vote was Barry. He said, you want to do a real reduction stuff. He basically said, because I've always gone after it, the low hanging fruit, those, go for the big chunk. Stop wasting your time on this.
I wouldn't be able to bring that to you next Tuesday. There's a lot of movement that would happen, and that's Debbie and I sit down looking at seniority and people's certifications and so forth. So it takes some time.
Next Tuesday, it's a budget.
As you know, Appendix B is broken up into 2 separate categories. One is the co-curricular and one is athletics. If you were to cut the co-curricular portion, that would be $163,083 in salaries and benefits. Now, I'm not making a judgment on any academic value, I'm just saying that's what that category is. And if you cut athletics, salaries and benefits only, but in athletics, there would be other things that you would also, would be impacted. So if I just give you athletics as a total, the total athletics budget is $535,047. That doesn't include transportation, that's $19.
Does that include the appendix B items that we're going to shut down?
No, because that's actually a reduction.
So what I'm hearing is we've got a lot of variation on the board, even the advisory folks are saying. I think we have to have, we know what the 6.08 is, whatever the number is, we have to have the other numbers that we talked about, 2 and flat. I don't think, personally, I don't know about negatives, but we're hearing 4 negatives. One negative? One.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you're trying to end the meeting.
No, I just want to give Michael like a plan. This is the plan. This is what we're hearing. We've got people that are concerned about, 6 and maybe 3 that are okay with it. I think we got to have that discussion. We have that information.
I think it's a little dangerous though, like I understand that he's a professional and you know your staff and you understand those seniorities and I see value in that, but I see this as a slippery slope where it can quickly get not personally bad, but like politically bad, where like he has the potential to come back and say, well, we're gonna cut all the athletics out and all that. And I think what I'm hearing from you is like, well, how about this position? How about this position? And not names, but 3 teachers from this department, like, I'm hearing that, and I'm saying, let's maybe streamline the unified arts. Is that a possible thing? And that's different than
but with all
go
the
make the magic happen.
I
Because
can't.
We gotta give them the opportunity. If we don't,
Well,
if
no,
we
and
don't
you
like what it's
can.
for, then we'd say, debate.
No, but I'm not saying denying them the choice of picking it. You should have a choice to pick, but I think there should be an avenue where some proposals can also come in for equal consideration. You know what I mean, of financial impact, because the impact of what you're proposing could be different than the impact of, let's get rid of anything that's not math and science, like, let's get rid of gym, the athletics, or, you know what I mean, like, I think it could get political and ugly without direction. You're free to do what you do, like what you're saying, but in addition to that, it'd be good to have some scenarios, like the impact of this scenario, like the one you're explaining. 3 teachers from each department, and in my scenario, let's see if we can streamline the unified arts in a way that we get like the traveling hit squad going around. Like those scenarios have different impacts.
I know what you're saying. Me personally, I have my own opinions on how they share them on occasion, but I don't feel, I can honestly say I know better than the person that paying to tell the district. And I can't say that makes the most sense, or I want to cut this position, not teacher, that program. Pay my whole lot of money, I'd like them to,
Oh, and
because
you certainly will. So I value what you do, and I think you have a lot of institutional knowledge, and you know how the machine runs, and I want to hear that too. But we also need a path for creative innovation, kind of lead into the system that the tax base is kind of asking for. You know what I mean? Like you have to think out of the box. We have to think differently, or we're going to be doing the same thing all the time. So I would like for there to also be like some other proposals in addition to like his very valued expertise, maybe some other proposals, the financial impacts.
We have other proposals, speak now, but I don't want to have 17 different proposals.
No, but there should be an avenue for some. Like I have proposals for Kiewit, and that, without like going down the rabbit hole, but you first, because you've been waiting a long time.
On the insurance side, you said that it's potential that you could have 2 different plans going on.
We have 2 different plans going on.
Okay. I thought you said
Support staff has a separate plan than the teachers.
No, I mean an insurance company or provider.
That I'm not sure because it's not a negotiations. So I would have to check with school care. Typically, they don't allow it unless there's a negotiated agreement. So there's no negotiated agreement calling for them to have school care yellow choice.
Okay, but you said last time I believe that some of the staff can be in a separate healthcare than their teachers, than the ones in the CBA?
The support staff
Yeah.
are in a separate, yes, they have school care, yellow choice plan.
Okay.
The teachers have either the green or the red, but it's all school care,
So,
yes.
now, the support staff, are you able to look how much it would be if you were to change to the other provider that there is?
I would have to check with school care because it's not negotiated agreement, so they may not be able to. If they're not unionized, then I can't have two different providers in one district without a collective bargaining agreement calling for it. So I would check with school care on that.
Now, the impact on the cost of healthcare has to do with how much we contribute, the school board, the school district contributes to their costs, right? Like
Say that
last year, there was an increase, a couple of increases that happened, small ones, 5% at different levels. That's what creates the cost for healthcare.
So
It went
what-
from like 80 to 85% of it.
We increase the district contribution towards the plans. If you're talking about the health insurance rate increase, that's based on the overall
Yeah, I'm
usage,
talking
but
about how much
right.
the district.
So the district contributes more for support staff than it did in the past, yes. Because we found that they were gonna actually take a pay cut if we
Some
did not.
employees are paying us.
Right, we had a lot of employees that were paying us because they couldn't afford the insurance. So even though we increased the salary a little bit, doing the increase in the health insurance contribution actually was better for them because that's not taxable. So they actually made out better by us increasing the health insurance contribution instead of their salary. We did a little of both, trying to balance for them. We wanted to make sure everyone had a little bit more to take home in their pay, so that's why we did the combination.
We wanted to eliminate the chance that if there was a holiday or whatever, and now people were getting paid, that they weren't going to be in a negative or in a situation where they actually owed us.
So, and then when we pay for healthcare, basically can't be touched because a lot of it falls under the CBA.
The teacher's amount falls under the CBA. The support staff does not fall under a CBA. But again, if we decrease the amount we're going to contribute towards them, they're going to take a cut in pay.
But, so, one thing that I want, just trying for everybody to see, that everybody can see on paper here is the current positions that are open. I don't know if the board could go down the line and see, because I know there's two of them already that are suggested to remove. I don't know how much those other positions should cut down on the budget. But those are things that everybody can see at the moment. Unlike, waiting for the superintendent to come back, but I don't know how much of impact on the budget that would have. But also another thing is, can someone speak to what's going to happen next summer or spring when it comes to the CBA? The board had these conversations with the union. What is all that can impact the new CBA? So I'm sure, I would think that if the wages, they want to increase them, because that's what I'm trying to look at, when it comes to positions here, they're talking about if the CBA next year, when there's negotiations, that there might be an increase because the current, like this, the B,
Appendix B.
Appendix B is based on the $42,000.
Bachelor step 1.
Yeah, right? So if that gets increased, that is gonna impact everything across the board. So I just want that as a motivator. So if someone can speak of what is gonna happen next spring or summer, that it comes into play, so we can have that in the back of our head. But what's gonna happen in the following year when it comes to new CBA and increases, most likely, because I'm sure it will be increased.
So the process involved is, the SREA will give the board notification for their intent to negotiate. Then they set a calendar for negotiations. and ground rules, and negotiations start over the summer, and usually Debbie's punching numbers all the way through to see what the impact's gonna be over the course of the CBA, not only the following year, but however long they might negotiate the term of the contract. And that's health insurance and salaries.
And benefits, right?
Yep.
And who is it that negotiates with them?
The
Three board members.
board members and union representatives.
Okay, those are the people that are involved only?
And Debbie, because she's punching.
And they come back to the board every now and then, or is that all done in private?
That's all done in non-public.
Yeah.
And I think, and I just thought, I think to some degree, sometimes, you know, the bargaining group of three people at the board, we'll ask the full board, you know, what are your thoughts, what are we looking at, what are you comfortable with? Kind of goes like this, and sometimes doesn't go anywhere, but I think there is an attempt for those three people who want some direction from the full board too, because they don't want to be on their own, basically. They don't want to negotiate something and then have the full board go, we don't like this. So there is some conversation that takes place both before.
And you said that negotiation goes to over the year, or is it like a time limit so that it takes effect by a certain time?
They have to come to an agreement by the beginning of the new year, because we have to have that number as part of our public hearing.
Oh, okay.
So by January 1st.
So that's
It's a separate
the
warrant
increase
article.
that you're looking at for next year. Right?
It's a separate warrant article, yes.
Yeah.
How long are the
One
contracts
article?
good for?
That's negotiated.
Is it every
They're
year?
currently in a 4-year contract.
So it's a 4-year
Could be
contract?
1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year.
I've seen everywhere from 1 to 5, really.
So there's no consistency, like every 3 years or something?
All depends.
This is quite a window of opportunity that is coming up.
So you're saying that the warrant article, so the ability for the taxpayers to say no is there?
Yep.
What happens is, how people say no?
They go without a contract, and they go back to the table to renegotiate.
So the following year, the teachers will be.
Well,
everybody-
if they say no, there's typically another warrant article that allows the board to call a special meeting. So if the two come to another agreement, they can go back and have a special meeting for that agreement. If that gets shut down, then it waits another year.
And during that time,
They stay where they are on the staff.
During the current CBA?
Yeah.
And how long can that be going?
Yeah, that varies.
Because I'm just saying, how much realistic is that the budget is gonna be dropped in substantial amount, and the taxpayers have that ability in the future to be like, okay, here's where we can. I just wanna put that in the back of the head of, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there are districts
talking
that have
about-
lost their collective bargaining agreements. They've been voted down year after year after year, and you just end up losing good employees.
They don't have a contract, they just
Right.
try to find another.
Yeah, I know, and that's what we're trying to avoid. That's why we want to present a good budget. But also, this is a representation, this budget is a representation of what's happened in prior years, that now the budget is at this level, right? Because I know there was conversation about last year, and I was trying to, I know I was one of the people that I was trying to say, you can lower the budget by 110,000 if it was possible, and it didn't happen. But through the years, every amount that was over the default budget has accumulated, and this is where we are now with the budget. So, yeah, when it comes to proposals that the superintendent has to bring us on for the board, I understand that what's coming up next year, the taxpayers can be like, okay, we weren't able to do anything about last year's budget because currently it's under the default, that they could shut down the CBA as their only recourse to impact the budget. Right? So, just want to let it be in the back of your head of what some people are thinking in the community.
So, move this conversation along. I would like to know if we have anything to talk about next week.
We decide what time to maybe go through some more of the scheduling stuff, like more of the details?
I think Michael said, Sean said he needs more time to get the numbers that we want to see.
Yeah, so we won't have the numbers
I don't
on
have any numbers.
zero.
No, but Mark maybe has an opportunity to better explain and kind of flush out a little bit, like what you're talking about, you know? Would that be of value? Because you talked high level today, but is there more depth to go over with people, or?
I mean, I could look at what, take a department and say, okay, here's all the classes that the department is offering for a year's worth of curriculum. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you reverted to that schedule, you're actually going to have more, at least one or two, additional, class potentials, going to a 6-period day versus 7-period day versus 4. So it's nothing that's going to have to be eliminated or on the chopping block. Really, I mean, all it does is it affords additional flexibility with fewer staff. I mean, it's with the exception of science that requires different certifications, and Hewitt, the Hewitt is a challenge, but it's solvable. I mean, I would say if we wanted to, we could take a look at Schedule B and see if there's anything there that we would want to do a savings on. I don't think it's going to be a 3-hour fee for that, but it would be worth. I think it would be worth taking a look at it.
Other thoughts on Schedule B? Actually, look at Schedule B.
Next Tuesday, I can bring you some idea of what those cuts look like. There's not going to be solid numbers at that point.
It's possible, like, talking about the schedule in high school, like, if superintendent's available, I guess the counselors as well, they know the course schedule. The thought of rejiggering this kind of makes me a little nervous because I don't know how that works because I've got, this many Englishes and I have this one. Like, I just want to have the professionals take all this stuff too. I'd like to get their thoughts.
So a good time to do that would be their regular scheduled meeting, which is the first meeting in November. So they're not here next Tuesday, but they're here the following Tuesday. You're going to have all of the building principals here.
And I think that's good because it's important to have brainstorming. And then it's important to have criticism or critique of what was brainstormed. But when you mish them together, you stall innovation.
I just want to make sure if we're going to meet next week, we've got something. I think you might have some additional numbers.
Yes. I'll have something that will definitely raise the discussion.
I didn't want to schedule a meeting that everybody come out for routine.
Would it be worth having more discussion about the grant writing? I know you talked with other superintendents and principals about that.
I've provided whatever information I have at this point. No matter what
we already
So like, look at, I know that that's what you do for work, but like, is there any information that you might be able to provide us for like how that might, what that might look like for us? And like, don't stress out if that's totally out of left field.
As far as like the grant writer goes?
Yeah, so like, I don't know if you know anything about, maybe like, ask for that position or anything like that?
Yeah, that might, I know you're not looking at a salary benefit position, I don't think that would be appropriate for the district, that would be a contract. Somebody.
I just don't know what the cost is. I only asked Manchester what they contract out.
I guess I don't know what the cost is, and I don't know, like, I'm all for this if there's a return on investment. If you can't hire contractors, you have to bring in this.
I think it definitely should be a competitive process. You need to talk to people, see what they bring to the table, what experience do they have. I think it's a viable option going forward to cut down some of the costs on these larger expenses.
I didn't mean to put you on the spotlight, that's fine. I had a Hewitt recommendation or just like a brainstorm. Is this the right time or do you want that at a different meeting?
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. I don't know a lot about Hewitt or our relationship with the Winnisquam group, but I heard some things tossed around last week about like preschool and like, you know, like other career pathways. And these are super valuable. And I also heard the last time we met that there are like regulations that like if people want to go, like we have to cough it up, okay? But I think I would love to see like a partnership with local and larger businesses. That if we have like the Pony Auto and there's some class, like I would like to more deep dive into what, for me, like what Hewitt offers and what Winnisquam offers. And then like, I'm like unemployed, so I'm happy to do this for you, but like if you want me to, but like, let's start identifying some businesses locally, regionally, nationally that would want to sponsor a kid. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, UNICEF, it would get a picture or something, but like they want to put a certain amount into the program and maybe the kids wear a t-shirt and the logos on the back with the other logos, but let's get some like, because these companies benefit by having an educated workforce. These students are their future employees. And so I think there's an opportunity to do fundraising outside of the traditional pathways without grant writing. And they have rooms in their budgets to do stuff like this, you know? They have wiggle room in their budget and it's good advertising too if you have allowed the little logo on the back of the shirt. But I think we could bring in money for the Hewitt and Winnisquam so it decreases the impact on the taxpayer. And we're still not saying no to anybody, and they're also helping provide tax relief.
That in a grant writer as well, because you have somebody who's creating a strategic plan to utilize the nonprofits that are associated with schools, our PTOs, our athletic boosters, anybody that's a nonprofit that's working with schools.
Yeah, but I'm talking like targeting for-profit companies.
Yeah, foundational grants. There's plenty of large businesses in this area, maybe not Canterbury, but Belmont.
Right.
I mean, I identified too, like, so for example, baseball fields. There's a Kubota hometown crowd grant. I believe Belmont has a Kubota. Goodyear Tire Foundation. That's another one I believe is also with Belmont.
How many times did Randy bring up Coca-Cola branded HVAC?
Right.
Last year. Yeah, so if you think there's any room or run with that, like I'm happy to contribute, but I don't want to do anything outside of what you guys bless and think is worth pursuing. But, you know, I think that's a way to help fund those very valuable and needed components of our education.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a tie. Again, I don't know how, again, we're talking about a position, a contract.
No, I'll do it for free.
Where it's
like not the grant writing, but like I can come up with a list of companies. If you guys bless it, it would go on your letterhead that we're reaching out to you for the next fiscal year to sponsor at this amount of dollars equals this many, sponsors this many students, and just do it.
You're asking for a letter of support.
No, just talk amongst yourself and figure out if you think there's value in private fundraising to help support the students who go to the Hewitt and Winnisquam programs. And if so, like I will donate my time and do companies and sample letters, but ultimately it would go out in like your own letterhead to like approach these businesses. But I'll do it for free because it will reduce the tax impact. Because I'm super motivated to convince them to donate.
think there's value in that. I'd pursue it, but I won't do anything without agreement.
All right, Michael, we got enough information for next week. All right, anything else anyone wants to add?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know what everybody says on vice principals. Yeah, I understand, you know, there's some students in the building. But there's schools out there that the principal is all they have, and then they have the administrators that work under them to make the school run.
So you're talking about cutting the associate principals?
Because,
What are you saying without saying it?
usually, well, because the other day he was talking about, yeah, we share, you know, the job, certain things that each other does. I mean, all that my brain was thinking was the office when Jim and Michael were sharing the same job. It becomes to a point that it's really hard to, you know, remove certain positions. In my opinion, I don't think a 300 student school requires a vice principal.
Well, I've seen some schools operate, you know, they have the building principal, and then there are teachers that are willing to take a stipend, you know, to fill some of the assistant principal, you know, roles and responsibilities. So like that, I mean, maybe that can work into.
Isn't that something that already happens?
Figure that out.
In our school district? I remember you saying that you had
We have building leadership teams, but they're not taking on administrative roles such as an associate principal's role, which is more than a full-time job. You start talking about eliminating associate principals, you would have a significant impact on our schools, and I would anticipate we would be advertising for principal positions at that point, because you're not running these schools without an associate principal. The principal doesn't have the time to take on all of those responsibilities, to be an educational leader in the building, as well as all the other responsibilities. It really is a two-person job, particularly these days.
When I first started working in the schools, I would see just the principal, but the behavior has dramatically changed over the past 10, 15, 20 years. And I can see how the assistant principal would be a big help in the behavior management of them students that need the extra TLC.
Yeah, and I didn't understand the role of the assistant principal, but I've been subbing the month of October in the various different schools. I haven't been to the middle school yet, but I have to say, I'm actually over this month, like, they have a mea culpa. Like, I have so much respect for those assistant principals. They do, I agree, they do more than a full-time job. When staff is out and they have to quickly find a sub, they're there. Like, these people, they're texting me off hours, trying to see if I can come in and sub. Like, these people work above and beyond. And I always see them loading kids on and off the bus, and they're always roaming the hallways, and they are like the front line. They rock. I'm really impressed. I had no idea what they did before, but I have a wicked deep appreciation for those guys. I've been at Belmont Elementary and the high school. They're exceptional.
And being in that role, I've been an assistant principal. It's changed significantly over the years since when I was an assistant principal. It is a big job, even in a school of over 300 kids. Big job.
Yeah.
That a principal's not going to be able to do on their own.
But if there's an opportunity, like you're saying, to offer some people stipends to maybe
Yeah.
existing staff, so then you don't have the healthcare hit. Existing staff, they get a pay bump, but they take on more responsibility. That might be worth exploring.
Then you're pulling that person from the classroom, so it's a teaching position.
So what I did, I mean, when I was principal up in Pittsburgh, I had four staff that were willing to take on, you know, we would divvy out mainly the assistant principal duties, and they did it on their own. So if there was a discipline issue during period 2, you had to go see Mrs. Clark. If it was on period 4, you had to go see Mr. Jones. And so that was, that was how we handled it with the lack of that additional issue.
How many students in Pittsburgh
At the time, we had 150.
at the time?
Yep.
So fewer than 50% of our total population that work at schools.
So maybe it's not viable, but I like the creativity, like, the ideas flowing.
I suspect that won't be here.
You won't see that on my list. Unless some director can put it on my list.
All right, anything else? All right, so agenda items. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Not gonna stay for the rest of it?
All right. Next up is on the horizon. One added. Yeah. All right, carrying on. Volunteer list. Right.
Volunteer list.
Second.
Second, Mark. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up is new business legislative subcommittee.
Yeah, so we had actually had a discussion about the about the possibility of a legislative subcommittee. It was at least 6 months ago, but it was just something that, given the current climate, felt like something that we may want to actually discuss. And actually, I went to the New Hampshire School Boards Association Delegates Assembly on Saturday, and it was very timely because Michaela Demeter from Dover she actually also works at the New Hampshire School Funding Fairness Project. She's she's like their outreach person. And so she has actually started a school board advocacy network. So it's basically a legislative subcommittee made up of multiple people from multiple boards. So she actually gave me some information that I will pass around to Greta. I apologize if I don't think I have. Actually, I do have one for you. So. But it was just something that I thought maybe we should bring up again. I know, Sean, you had wanted to talk about it again and kind of get a feel for how people are feeling about this. Obviously, we have a lot on our plates right now as it is, but just kind of wanted to take the temperature of the room there.
So my main question, what I'm when essential. So
I'm
all of
not
us
sure
are
I'm
the
going to
same.
have the information, but I can try to get it for you.
But I think we all have the same. We all have an interest. I think the concern is how. So I want to be more involved. I want to spend more time. I don't know if I can meet during the days during the week when I have a job. I think
Win the lottery.
But
Everybody's excited to win the lottery.
Horrible.
Is that, so most of the participants, are they younger, full-time in employment, and they just have the flexibility in schedule, or are we looking at, older retired people that are maintaining, being activity and interest?
So I don't think I can speak for everyone. I will say that there is a healthy mix of people who come to that delegate assembly.
Do you think this is something where if we had an interest in it, we'd have one person that would do the first Friday and the third Wednesday, or would we split it? Break it up?
If you're, I think that that's probably good. I think we would, if this is something that we're interested in doing, rather than just a Shaker Regional Legislative Subcommittee, then I think that I would be happy to email Michaela and see if that's an option.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm curious if, because I have concerns about the attendance, but I might be more apt to be involved in this, you know, first Friday, do the first Friday, I'll just take time off for an hour or two, whatever. But I don't know if I can third.
So that's something that I can take away and I can email Michaela and try to find that out. Just kind of
Watch later,
yeah, that might be a little bit. I might not be able to, but I can definitely take notes and ask.
The pessimist in me says, wow, we're gonna put all this effort in, we're gonna have a majority of the House or whatever the heck they want, on party lines. And like, what we advocate for, they don't care. You feel like, when she talked about this, that we felt
Yes, she definitely feels like they are accomplishing something.
So I guess we'll talk about that's something maybe before. This I think is different. You know, well, I don't know if you have an opinion on it, one of
So I think that there is value in both. I think that maybe what might make sense is to maybe start with the school board advocacy network and sort of see how things are structured, and maybe we can sort of build our committee from there. And if we choose not to continue doing this, or if we choose to go a different route.
Maybe I'm looking at these action items, and I think it's important that Shaker Regional is represented. I agree with Sean that other times for people who have a full-time job and so on.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I mean, she got back to you and said, oh no, I know school boards that are interested, but they wrote me their, you know, time that they come because one doesn't. I would definitely have interest.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I can go ahead and email Michaela, if anyone has any questions. So basically what I'll do is I'll hold off for a couple of days. If you have any questions, just email them to me so that I can kind of compile them, and email it to her, and then I can come back, you know, maybe at the next board meeting or whenever, and give you those answers.
So what you're basically doing is establishing a legislative liaison prior to establishing some subcommittee that would take on that role. So that's something like wanting to discuss the next steps is legislative liaison and participate in this advocacy network. Take it from there.
Or like Sean said, maybe like a primary and a secondary or something. Like we have for the delegate. Well, actually, I don't think we have a secondary delegate. But you can. That is a possibility if anyone's interested. Come and sit with me on beautiful Saturday in October.
Thank you. Business administrator report.
So in your packet, I've included the financial report. I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss anything.
I spent some time looking at it. I don't know how to look at it.
Okay.
Because, well, I understand what I'm looking at. I guess my concern is, like, all right, 1,100 functions. We have $337,000 worth. It's the first page. But I also know that we're in the month of November, and like I know some of them are encumbered as well. But do you typically encumber at all? Are we above budget? So that's extra money. Like I don't know
Yeah.
at this point in time how that works.
There are some things in there that won't be encumbered, like subs. I don't know how many subs we're going to use. We have some open positions that kind of, switch back and forth, and depending on where we are at the moment, they may or may not be encumbered for the rest of the year. So it's not a hard and fast, this is a snapshot in time. There are some things like the benefits for those that are encumbered. Most of the stuff that's not encumbered for salaries would not be positions that would typically get benefits. So there may be, and I can't remember offhand, but it may be longevity is not encumbered yet. That gets paid in December. So there may be some things that aren't encumbered, but a longevity payment would not have health insurance benefits. It would have FICA and med retirement.
So like, it's nice that the report shows a total budget at the end.
Yep.
2 million, 2.8 million available. It's not really available. You're gonna need something. So I guess my big takeaway of this is to ask you, do you see any areas that concern you or you see significantly over budgeted or under budgeted this time?
So at this time now, I will point out a few things. As you know, we do not have a nurse. So I am actually looking on page 6 of my report. Sorry, it's page 4 of 11. We don't have a nurse at Belmont Elementary School that we have as an employee. We have had the contract for that. So that is a new line for the purchase service. Contracting that position is $105,000. But we do have, as you can see from the function total on the next page, line 5, we're still $15,000 to the good in that line, in that function. But again, I haven't encumbered a lot of the school supplies. They haven't asked for them yet. And the nurses, they ask for them as they need to replenish. So there are some things that you could look at and say, whoa, we're a little over here, a little over there. It's too early to say where we're going to end the year.
Maybe over in full services, but in theory, we're saving money in a lot of times, wherever that position is regularly funded.
For the nurse?
Yeah.
It's in the 2130s. It's on page 4. That's where it's typically, so we're saving $58,000 in salaries. We have $54,000 left in benefits, but we're spending $105,000 for that contract.
I didn't realize the nurse is actually in that line.
Yes, yeah. So there's no area right now that is really flagging a concern for me. I will tell you the medical services on 2132, we can no longer find anyone who will do physicals, the pre-employment physicals. So I can't get them done. So just going through, we still don't have a school resource officer, so that money's not encumbered. So there are things throughout. I don't have the final counsel do it. They don't have to send the projections anymore. So I have to wait for the first year bill. So, I mean, there's a few things. It's an early, but it's a report that at least lets you know where we're standing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, considering some of the news we've heard, this is a report we should be getting regularly.
Right.
I just want to make sure that I'm doing something with the report. I don't want to just.
Yeah, and what I can do is as we continue on, I will try to glean out some of the information and try to explain some of the major underages or overages for you, so you have an idea of what that is.
Questions, comments?
So just so the encumbrances are just money that's not spent yet.
We anticipate we're gonna spend the money, we just haven't spent it yet.
Right, okay.
But it has been, for budgeting purposes, it's kind of been spent, it's set aside.
It's been set aside for a purpose, yes,
Doesn't show as available.
correct.
All right, Appendix B Committee Report.
So the Appendix B Committee met on September 30th. One of the things we do is we get a report to find out what the participation is in each one of the clubs. We try to find out how many kids are really involved, how often are they meeting. We did discuss this year that we would like to start getting some year-end reports from all of the advisors. But based on the information that we were able to collect and review, the proposal is to add the hiking club at the middle school, a second volleyball, which is one that we typically have had to add and find the money elsewhere. Indoor track 2, again, that's one of the things that Kate typically comes and says, I need another track coach, but we're not going to fill this position. And then we have a list of those that we want to suspend because they have not been utilized. The net budget impact would be a savings of $9,822.78.
Michelle is our representative.
Michelle is the representative.
Are there any groups in Appendix B that you have trouble getting information from?
It took a little bit to get some from the high school, but he was trying to get some of the information, so, but all the others we got right away. I had those from
I guess what I'm getting at, we're not keeping any that we have doubts about, but they wouldn't give us the information.
No, there's a couple that we are going to watch for next year. There's a couple of that they've got students that are interested, but they don't have someone who's willing to run it yet. So that's one of those, we're going to watch that again next year. And if they still don't, if we still have students that want it, but we can't get an advisor, we're just going to suspend that program as well.
How many of those do you have?
3. But they're all the low-level DDs.
Oh, shoot.
We split that up. I mean, I'd like to, I know it's a recommendation and we need action. I'd like to wait until we look at Appendix B before we consider adding the fruit next week and then suspend the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if we can split that up or not.
So my only concern would be, what in volleyball? Is that volleyball?
Well, this is for next year.
Okay.
We would have already come to you or will be coming to you about indoor track. That would be the next one that's going to be starting up. They have a large number of students that are participating.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is, if you want to put it off, I'm okay with that, but this would be a situation where we'd be filling in anything regardless, right? Like we have in the past. We fill these positions by not funding.
Correct. Correct.
But these are for next year.
This is the recommendation for the 26-27 year, yes.
Make a motion to table.
Well, table just half the whole thing, or do we just table half of it?
Whatever you want.
All right. So I'll make a motion to table the proposed additions for the 26-27 school year, but then accept the recommended suspensions of BMS Lego, Destination Imagination, BMS Baseball, BMS Softball, BMS Cross Country Skiing, BHS Cross Country Skiing, and BHS JV Softball.
Second.
And you're just talking baseball 2 and softball 2, not the whole baseball.
That was going to be my discussion.
I'm sorry.
as well.
Yep, yeah, got ahead of myself, yes. Baseball 2, softball 2.
I just want to make sure I understand by tabling this, I mean, really impact.
Well, you're not tabling, you made a motion. And if it carries, then I would reduce next year's budget by those items that were suspended.
Yeah, I need the motion back.
A motion was made by Mark Eckhart and seconded by Jeffrey Roberts to table the, and then I need to pick up all of that.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
listed
So
like 5 things.
But I thought this
It's
tabling,
it's the
not.
addition of the hiking club, volleyball 2, and indoor track 2.
But it won't, we have a bigger discussion on that.
Yeah, I wanted to table the additions, but then
Table the
accept the
additions,
recommendations first.
Okay.
And I guess my question is, we're not really impacting anything if the table goes to the additions and play bigger discussion. Correct. This is all for next year.
Correct. Just won't get put in the budget yet, until you make a decision.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I just want to be clear, so these ones that are being suspended, there's no kids participating in these?
Correct.
Just to follow up on your question. Say next year we had an influx of kids that were interested in BMS Lego Club, and we had an advisor that really wants to do it. What are the chances that we're just allowing you to employ the money for another vacant position?
So that would be a board decision.
Done that in the past.
But typically, what we've decided is if we're suspending it, it's suspended for the year. And then they would have to come back, and they're not rechartering, but they would have to come back with a proposal of how many do want to participate, and then it would be an impact for the following year. It's just not automatically reinstated. The only thing you've done is, okay, we're not gonna have baseball 2, but we really need a second indoor track, and you've shifted the money that way. I don't really see that happening much with the clubs.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are clubs.
Correct, but Cayman said these have not run for a long time.
I don't know.
Yeah, Cayman was part of the meeting. We do have lacrosse that there is an interest at the high school level, so he asked that we not suspend that one because there's a large group coming up from the middle school that are interested in lacrosse. So that one we did not suspend, recommend to suspend for that reason.
One of mine is one of those. Looking forward to field lacrosse.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Internal policy bill.
So these are all up for second readings, at this point. So, any questions we did not address in the first reading?
Yeah, I had a question on the IHAM. I apologize for not catching it the first time, but the opt-out procedure, where it says students 18 years of age or older, do they need to be, I mean, if they're still under their parents' roof and not emancipated, they can still be emancipated, is that the right word? They can opt out on their own versus.
They're an adult. They're a legal adult.
Okay.
The only changes based on the conversation, the first reading is IHBA, I'm sorry. We just strike through handicapped students in the title. Michelle's suggestion. And the policy IMGAA therapy dogs. The board wanted me to look into number 8 on page 2 of 4, under insurance. We did reach out to Primex and they recommended this wording, commercial general liability insurance, liability coverage of $1 million per occurrence and $2 million aggregate in any school district. So the handler has to have that level of liability insurance in order to have a therapy dog in the school.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that being said, I'll make a motion to accept internal policy IHAK, IHAM, IHAMA, IHBA, IMGAA.
Second. Motion and a second, further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And we have nominations in our non-public packet.
Motion to accept the Appendix B Nominations.
Second.
Great, motion and a second, discussion of the public nature. Otherwise, we go to non-public. All right, motion second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public communication and correspondence. And we have non-public review of meeting minutes. We have any non-public items. So, those now.
Make a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We did have October 28th non-public, 21st non-public.
The next ones are gonna be your next
That'll be
one.
my next. Okay.
The motion to adjourn.
Roll call?